So Joe Biden says raising taxes on corporations and billionaires isn't a problem, even during a pandemic. So who is really going to pay for a tax increase? Well, that'll be us. Let's have a quick look at some of what his plans on tax increases are going to affect. Thanks for listening to the Independent Paradox. Does Joe Biden really think that corporations aren't going to pass on their increased tax burden to the consumer? These companies are in business to make a profit, and they have a responsibility to their shareholders to make as much money as possible. How can anyone think that we aren't going to be the ones paying this tax? Has your state ever raised taxes on gas and you not been the one to pay for it at the pump? You mean the business owner just didn't go, oh, well, I'll pay it out of my own pocket? Of course not. Businesses are always going to pass on any increase in their expenses to the consumer. And, with as many products that are hard to find as they are, and as expensive as some things have become during this pandemic, these companies aren't going to give up the billions of dollars that they're making in profits. They're going to pass all of those expenses on to us. Cost of some goods have already gone out of control, and a new tax on corporations, especially the ones that produce any kind of product, are only going to make things worse. Let's take a look at some wealthy Americans. When life starts to get back to normal and we can start attending sporting events and concerts in large numbers, those performers, artists, sports team owners, they're going to be taxed more. Do you not think that ticket prices, food, merchandise, you don't think all of that's going to go up as a result? And we aren't just talking about federal income tax for wealthy Americans. When you add new payroll taxes and investment income taxes, their total federal tax will be almost 50%, just federal. And in those wonderfully ran Democratic high tax states like, I don't know, California, New York, wealthy Americans will be paying a combined rate as high as 62%. And he calls this paying their fair share. Does he really think a total of 62% in taxes is a reasonable amount, even for wealthy Americans? I'm sure they don't think so. He is claiming his plan is going to generate all of this extra funding for all his social programs, some of which a large majority of Americans don't support. Fact of the matter, wealthy Americans have financial advisors that are going to come up with legal ways inside our laws, inside our tax codes, to move money from their 401ks or wherever it is that they're getting taxed the most on into other types of investments that won't be taxed as hard as what he's proposing to some of their retirement accounts. So, back to what really matters to the rest of us. You and I, the working middle class, who are going to be the ones actually paying the Biden tax. How does Biden think that mandating a $15 an hour minimum wage and increasing corporate tax is going to lead to job creation? It won't. Companies will operate with the same execs making the same large amounts of money and bonuses and then hire fewer and fewer employees at the low end of wages. And what about product quality? This is going to be a downline effect of increasing cost to corporations that produce products. It's going to mean businesses are looking for ways to decrease manufacturing costs, usually at the expense of lower quality goods that don't last as long. And of course, lower quality products will lead the consumer to having to spend more money to replace those products that break more often. Lowering the cost of production and higher taxes will lead to moving production and moving more of our jobs to places like China. What about employer-paid health insurance? Higher taxes on a business or corporation will result in less contributions from employers to each of their employees' health care. Of course, driving the cost of health care up, it fits Biden's long-term plan of government control of health insurance. So maybe that's the plan all along. So, last thing I want to touch on is housing. There are a lot of wealthy Americans and corporations that own vast portfolios of real estate. There are probably between 50 to 60 million rental units in the United States. Rental rates are already out of control. Who does Biden think is going to bear the burden if the people and corporations that own all of these rental properties have their taxes raised? It's going to be the people trying to pay the rent. Again, all of these tax increases are going to be passed on to us. Same thing when you build a home. Most builders are owned or backed by large corporations. When their expenses go up, the price of construction goes up. I mean, you can just see that from the price of construction materials right now. Builders are raising their prices every couple of weeks. So let's just take a look at one company like Berkshire Hathaway. It has investments and owns businesses in new construction, manufactured housing, brokerage services, lending, title services, home warranties, property and casualty insurance, property management. The list of their real estate holdings, real estate related services holdings goes on and on. That's just their housing related businesses. An increase in taxes isn't just going to affect a small group of the so called elite wealthy Americans, it's going to affect all of us. Thank you for listening to The Independent Paradox. If you like what you've heard, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications.